What is up, Scrub fam? Pat here, and we are here with the two boys from Shenron's Lair, Jose and Zapp, to talk about their amazing deck that they ran this weekend that brought them tons of success. So I will hand it off to those guys. Take it away.
Absolutely, guys. Welcome to the Grassy Blue, a yellow Broly based deck focused on generating a lot of advantage, doing a lot of unfair things in the fairest of spaces. Jose and I had piloted the same 65 cards at this Niagara Regional. Not only were we both able to go top 4 in Swiss, Jose went undefeated. My only loss was to Jose. And then in top 16, we were able to, again, top 4. We played our worst matchup each in Shenron decks. And other than that, our only losses this entire weekend were to ourselves. And it was a huge success.
Yes.
Long story short, the premise of the deck is abusing the fact that Zeno button is broken and finding ways to play the game on both players' turns simultaneously.
Correct.
So
it's early pressure. It's a deck that it can adjust itself to if you want to play. If you play the advantage game, and when you see the opening, you can switch to an aggro deck as well. The superstar of the deck, this gentleman over here, this furry gentleman over here. Ideally, this is one of the key pieces in the mulligan.
You're playing as many copies as you can.
Exactly. You want to start spamming them, and that's why Zeno button is so broken, because you're tapping 2 to combo him. He comes into play early in the game. They're probably tapped out because they played something, or they have 1 energy, so they don't have counterplay available. He comes into play for free, draws you a card, taps something, and then you're tapped out, right? Because it's your turn 2 or not. And then you can defend with Zeno button, and then do it again. So you can Zeno button into the monkey again defensively, and then they have a second attacker. You tap it, draw 1 card.
Correct.
It's all about super value.
Exactly. So Goku Ape and Goku Black being 2 of the important early turn plays. You know, one of my favorite plays in the deck is on turn 2, they swing at you, so that you go first, you charge. They swing at you, you combo away a Goku Ape, you now have it in the energy. At turn 2, you have 2 energy. You use this ability, tapping 2 cards or 2 energy in order to draw 2. And then on their turn, you activate they swing at you, you activate Zeno button, untap your 2 blue cards, and Grade 8 Bardock comes in on the snapbacks. Not only do you drew 3 additional cards, but you have this huge present on the board.
Correct.
Alternatively, you can do a similar play in which you play Goku Black for 2, you attack with it, and then at the end of the turn you draw 2 cards, you discard the Goku Ape to use later.
Feels so much value. So much plus.
And then when you untap 1 energy to Goku Black, that puts you in a situation where 1 energy plus Sensu Bean also allows you to play Grade 8 Bardock.
And this Son Goku Ape is special because in certain matchups it feels amazing, and other matchups it doesn't feel as amazing. But it's really great when you actually don't have a play, but you still get plussing out of your turn. You're still using energy to create advantage against your opponent without not even attacking, giving a card to your opponent.
Correct. Other than that, we play Beerus Fickle God because having such an interesting demand as 2 blue for Ultra Instinct and 3 blue for Power of Patara, you also want to be able to have plenty of yellow to resolve cards like Swift Retaliation Cooler or Flying Nimbus.
I thought it was called Swift to Marcus Cantars.
Indeed. So what else do you use to exploit the energy that you're untapping with Zeno Button, with Sensu Bean, with your leader ability, Chomp of the Trickster, Undying Spirits, and Gohan? These cards apply excessive pressure. Chomp of the Trickster is what keeps their Shenron decks, those Go Tall decks, a little more modest. While Undying Spirits on Gohan is great against aggressive decks, being able to pay 2 energy, tap, and then untap 1, you bounce their guy back, and then when they swing with something else, you put them in a position where Bardock tape taps. It creates this very interesting dichotomy where if they decide to swing aggressively with their leader first at the beginning of the turn, you get Flying Nimbus. But if they choose to start playing all their battle cards first, then they start walking into things like Undying Spirit and Great Apes on Bardock.
Exactly.
Swift Retaliation and Hidden Power Kai being win cons that we'll talk about in a little bit. Again, Great Ape Bardock, probably the best card in the deck, just quite frankly.
Also, so the Bojack is actually not only like a dual color energy, that it's an excellent starter to then be followed up by Beerus on turn 2. But after you send a button, then you can start comboing outside of your combo and block the attack, and then you can arrival him for 1 yellow, and then you're like tapping the second attacker and having a blocker on board as well.
Exactly. And in general, Bojack is mostly your turn 1 charge. It doesn't come out by itself all too often, but where it really excels is whenever you have multiple copies in your hand.
Correct.
So if they swing at you, you Zeno button or something, you'd be like, here's a super combo, here's a Goku Black, now I can play 2 or 3 Bojacks. And that's just matchup defining. In addition to that, we play 1 of Ultra Instinct Son Goku. This is a card that we added, I think Brian Reed was a big part of this one. It's a helpful deck. We thought it would be really good against Shenron. But if you're on tapping 4 energy, tapping 4 energy to do it, it's not that fantastic. Where it's good is post Zeno button into this. But what it does is there's a lot of fair decks in the format, like Red Green Clash Coup and Blue
Baby
Black,
Vegeta.
Baby Vegeta, Toa, Red Gogeta BRs, the boy Frisco knows about. Those cards, when you have Ultra Instinct on the field, they get invalidated from their win con, and it holds them back for a turn. Only playing 1 copy is okay, because you have 2 copies of Planet Vegeta to tutor it. Planet Vegeta not only being insane because it's a toolbox for almost every single card in your deck, but it also untaps Grade A Bardock. At the top of the curve, you have Janemba Infernal Intruder, which is simultaneously the best and the worst card in the deck consistently. The premise behind this card being in is on turn 3, if you weren't able to get to an ape, you're in a situation where you can pay 1 energy, play Janemba, and he's a 20 critical body for 1 energy.
One blue energy.
1 blue energy. But then you still have 2 energy for Champa, for Gohan, or if you get into an ape leader.
Desperate measures also.
Correct. We also it's a 5 cost, which was huge. You can't Vegeta the Cruel it. You can't bounce it with Undying Spirits on Gohan, and it being critical is a secondary value you get out of Hidden Power E Supreme Kai. Jose and I played 5 mirror matches, and if we resolved this card, we won the game. Having Hidden Power E Supreme Kai to 30k crit, 5-3, 4-2, it happened consistently.
Yeah.
Your primary win cons, you have 2 copies of Mirror Creator Absorbed. Still a nuts card. Having the yellow leader Broly entitles you to being able to swing with it twice. Originally, this deck actually used the yellow Gohan leader because it allowed you to pull more apes and more draw apes, plus milling the draw apes were fantastic. But the issue we had is, 1, the win condition was a little bit weaker.
Correct.
And your Janemba match was terrifying because your leader untapped a whole bunch. So we mitigated that.
And your awaken abilities once per game, so you don't get that much value out of it. While Broly's just, you're awakened and you're generating advantage even when you're taking your own life. You're gaining cards, putting pressure, taking cards from your opponent.
Exactly.
Plus your tapping ability, like they cannot use normal blockers.
So while we're on the subject of leaders, guys, why a yellow leader and not a blue leader to abuse Zeno button?
So one of my big things that I kind of approached the deck from this theory of Zeno button is an absurdly powerful card when cards exist in the format that can play on both turns. I knew that by playing a blue or red leader, I was vulnerable to TN returning fire. So my head started going to yellow. Actually, when I started theory crafting this deck, this card wasn't even out yet, which is hilarious.
Yes.
But Zeno button being able to play with a yellow, black, or green leader and not have that punishment is what kind of attracted me to that. And then this card came out, and then it went over the top, which was hilarious.
He's a superstar.
Mm-hmm. The other win con, Power Patara, Vegito, Kefla Zamasu. I played it.
I played it, and again, that's another card that just puts in place fair decks that they take their time to set up. And if you happen to not have an ideal hand early, you for the first 3 turns you didn't see your ape to put pressure. They wasted all their negates, whatnot. He can be a finisher, and that you potentially can do 6 damage in 1 turn. I actually did that to Baby Vegeta. It was mixed feelings. Baby Vegeta's my favorite leader. Yeah, I tap them out, and then you go to town, you untap them, go again. Yeah.
Right. The weakness of this card is for it to be successful, you already have an established board generally. However, the yellow Broly leader, especially Awakened, kind of breaks that rule because you tap all their energy, and the fear is that when you swing, they just have like an after image or after image or shocking death ball, and you don't get any value out of it. But being able to untap and then swing again later makes up for all that. Looking at the spells, again, Zeno button, Planet Vegeta, we talked about all the targets for that.
Cold Bloodlust is still extremely broken. Relevant.
Broken!
Even at 1. Yeah. We keep talking about it, and we will be really happy if it's just completely gone. Because so many times we just won because we had the Cold Bloodlust and we just turned off their turn and we just go to town with the multiple Apes.
It goes both ways. I actually like it at 1 because, like, in a mirror match, and I'll be honest with you, Jose and I played in this top 4 match in 10 years of playing card games. It was the best that I ever had. And a huge reason for that was because Cold Bloodlust at 1 makes you respect it, but once they know it's a known factor, plays break wide open. Exactly. Now, we wish we could play 2 to 3 copies of Cold Bloodlust, but we're not allowed.
Yeah.
So we offset this with Desperate Measures and Swift Retaliation Cooler. And those cards come in and out of the side depending on what matchup you're doing, where if it's a longer game, Swift Retaliation Cooler gets more value. But against aggro decks, Desperate Measure can do cool things. I was threatening Training Buddy Krillin, or, you hit my Goku Black in our set. Very cool. The secondary effect of bouncing blue cards, you can also bounce a Beerus, a Goku Black, a Undying Spirits on Gohan back into your hand, and that's pretty cool. Flying Nimbus versus Time Magic was literally the hardest choice. So when the history behind this deck is coming in the last 10 days, I was starting a new job. I had no ability to test for this deck. So thanks to the 3SG patrons, I posted in the Discord. I asked people, should I make this deck public? Should I make it private? Should I talk to everybody? Should I make posts about it? And because I haven't had my invite yet. And they all said, we really want you to top, so, we'd love to be a part of it, but, I think you should keep it to yourself. So what I did is I invited any of the patrons that wanted to watch. We ended up getting a chat of about 10 people. That included, I'm going to forget people, and I'm so sorry. Chris V, Shane Early, Chris Reed, Steph Chef, who killed it this weekend, too. I think he got 4th.
Yes.
Steph, yeah.
5th in Swift.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, Raul, and then a couple of the... Got a little bit of feedback here and there from Shenron's Lair, which was always appreciated. Flying Nimbus probably ended up being the superior card. While it might have helped a little bit more against Shenron, it was worse against everything else. Conceptually, we like Flying Nimbus again because, to get the most value out of cards like this, they need to have 2 battle cards on board. And Flying Nimbus puts them in a situation where if they start attacking before they play more guys, you get more value out of Flying Nimbus.
Yeah.
And that's about it. In short, our side deck was close to perfect, I think.
Absolutely. So we...
you can come back here.
Yeah. It's funny because we knew our matchup, the toughest matchup was going to be Shenron. So we dedicated 13 cards to Shenron.
11 or 12, yeah.
Yeah, about 11 actually. And the rest, we were like mirror match. So we actually had a feeling on that we were gonna meet each other at one point, and we decided, you know what, we need to side for each other.
So the big cards against Shenron we brought in were Force Ejection, Mass Saiyan, and Dark Power, Black Mass Saiyan. Forces. Yep, we'll pull the rest up. Yep. So this being very helpful, especially if you can get to multiples. If you draw 1 and then you see a Planet Vegeta, able to overarm 1, hardcast 1, blow up 2 energy, and then you can sit on this. So if they keep on ramping, you can keep on popping. Dark Power Black Mass Saiyan was not only a way to awaken, but it was a way to keep red decks modest, being able to play around Pan, trying to chain attack Zeno U.
Yes.
I didn't come up against that, but I could definitely see where it would have been helpful.
And also, it's additional pressure against Shenron. You awaken earlier, and you can actually go for game with him along with the double strike, because when you're tapping with Broly, he actually gains the 10k additionally. So you're with only spending 1 more card from your hand, it becomes a 35k double strike. Mm-hmm. So I actually took my last game against Shenron.
That's huge, yeah. And while we went back and forth between Krillin and Dark Power Black Mass Saiyan, the critical being more relevant in some ways, Dark Power Black Mass Saiyan, if they World Peace Whis, the Wrestling Attendant,
yes,
they have to discard 2, and that's something that we appreciate.
He's durable too.
Yep. In addition, we brought in Mafuba for that matchup. Mafuba being, I wanted to say, was the worst card in our 65, but I think after our game, I changed my mind on that.
Fantastic in the mirror.
Yeah, so it's great against like Broly Apes, against this deck, being able to hide mirrors, to hide graded Bardox. Against Toa, being able to hide Toa before that Union Absorb was a huge deal. We also...
Greedy Toa players, when they swing with the 5 drop. Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, it was solid. It was solid. In addition, so we have Swift Regeneration Cooler, Desperate Measures. these kind of flexed depending on what matchup we were in. Again, if it was more aggressive, Retaliation Cooler might go away, and Desperate Measure in 2 might take its place. But on the flip side, against Shenron, like blue-black, which isn't doing a whole bunch, Swift Retaliation Cooler sometimes came in just to give you a yellow and to give you more combat power. The last cards we sided in for the mill matchup were 2 copies of Frost, the Path to Full Power. Our matchup spread, to be transparent, Shenron, both in ramp variants and super duper fast variants, were our worst matchup, and having access to Frost was the best way to get battle cards out of their drop and keep those matchups modest. The only other matchup we challenge is, I think Mill is about an even matchup.
Yes.
So this card having the dual purpose of beating Mill was very useful. The card overperformed, and I was very happy with it. While we wanted to play 3 copies of it, one of the last changes we made is we dropped 1 for 1 copy of Vegeta making an entrance. Now this card is only really effective against Mill, putting 3 cards back, but it was a great feeling being able to put back Bardock Apes to draw again later. But it being a Saiyan, we were able to tutor with Planet Vegeta, which is what made it a 2-1 split instead of a 3-0.
Exactly.
And then finally, because we were intimidated with Broly matchups, we brought in West Kai keeping watch. This also gained a lot of steam in the Universe 6 matchup, where Khalifa 4s and KO 4s, we were able to bounce them back and make sure they didn't get advantage. While that matchup is pretty favorable in the first place, this was just something to ensure that it got us over the edge.
All right. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
No, again, like what I like about the deck is like I can step on the gas whenever I want, and I can try and kill you on turn 4 or turn 3, depending on how good my hand is. But I can also step back and play the control game, keep playing the value game.
Right. Yeah. It's a deck where if the trees, the option trees, are endless, especially if you're in a deck that tries to do similar things. Again, the worst matchups are like, the Shenron Veggie deck, which you haven't seen 3XG video on that. Definitely check that out. But again, Shenron ramp decks, the really slow extreme stuff and the really extreme fast stuff is difficult a little bit. But
another thing I was going to say is also an amazing deck to learn defensive sequencing, because you have to actually very plan what your defensive comboing is going to be, and also be able to use your energy efficiently. So I used to say that Baby was a really good deck to learn defensive sequencing. If you're not a fan of red color, you like blue yellow, this is an amazing deck to do as well, to start learning defensive sequencing.
Absolutely, and it's so helpful because it's not rare to have 10-15 card hands in your deck, and the reason for that is because every card in your deck helps you draw cards. So often it was having 10, 11, 12, 15 hands. Remind me of the old Hercule deck too. And when you think about why we play so many 2-ofs and 3-ofs, it's because you draw so much that having the versatility in your hand is what you're looking for, because otherwise you just need generically good blue charges, generically good yellow charges, and you draw so much that Beerus makes going that diverse route possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks again to everybody that was a part of making this deck. This being the only regional that I got a chance to play in, it was deeply meaningful for me to make this a performance, and I think everybody that put work into this, I think we did them proud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you all. Again, check out the Patreon if you're already part of it. Definitely check out Shenron's Lair. Definitely follow us.
Shout out to the best store in the world, Bearded Collectibles, Alec. Woo!
Bearded
boys.
Yes, beardedcollectibles.com, guys. Check them out for all of your needs, your sealed product needs.
Absolutely. And good luck finding the funds to purchase this deck. Okay, bye!
Bye.